How y'all doing? Good, how y'all doing?
What up, Azeez?
What's up, brother?
Man, you've been on a lot of teams, been in the league for a long time. Do you see a correlation of like who shows up to OTAs with them being voluntary and like the attendance rate and being a good team and what it does for you?
Yeah, I think when you have a team, especially like this one, with a lot of like young talent, a lot of the guys that's contributed for us over the years, and it's, especially like last year with this team, it's been a lot of young guys, and guys are kind of like year 3, year 4, like, and I remember me back in San Francisco in year 2, going into year 3, just like that OTAs. That's really my 3rd year in the league was really where I felt like that OTAs was more crisp, and going into that training camp, it was just like that light switch just kind of clicked on for me. So I definitely think that with, especially like a young team with a lot of young players, this is a time where it's so slow. It's like learning the basic fundamentals of the game and, the scheme and everything like that. So it gives you a chance for those young guys to really like come along and learn more. And then obviously somebody like myself, who obviously have to communicate the entire defense to everybody. So me being here is important just to make sure that, they're hearing my voice, getting used to, how I call things, because, you get 2 months away from each other. You get a week away from your mom or somebody and you forget, like, oh, dang, I forgot. Well, I got to call them at this time. I got to do this. You forget people's routines and schedules. So it definitely is important.
Azeez, you go back a long time with Rico. This is your 2nd year with this defense. You as an extension, as a signal caller. How much do you feel like that background and you being in year 2 can take the defense up a notch?
Yeah, I think it's big because, like I said, whenever you like get to stack, more time with somebody, and I've known D'Amico since I've been in the NFL, so I think just more years under your belt, and then obviously now going into my 2nd year with these guys, with this group, and the new guys that are coming along, it's exciting because you just feel like, like if you got 2 chances to do anything, you feel like that 2nd time is going to be better than the first. So I think that's the expectation for myself and for everybody in the building.
One of the leaders in your role.
So,
How do you hope to grow in your role as leader and as linebacker on this team?
yeah, I think the biggest thing is like for myself, I want to be the best. Like, I play with the best. He's one of my close friends, Fred Warner. Played with Dre Greenlaw, another one of my best friends. And so, like, we competed when I was in San Francisco for who was the best at that time and who was going to make the biggest play. And I think, like, my mindset has always kind of been the same. Like, I want to be the best player I could possibly be. I want there to be no doubt. And that's just showing up every single day and doing the little things, especially at this point. You get into year 7, and it's like, me and Will were just having this conversation where you get to that point where you're like 90%, you feel like you got it all figured out. And it's like now it's just this 10%. And if you're willing to really try to be great, that 10%, if you get 2% out of the 10 remaining percent, like that can be a huge jump for a player, especially, I'm in year 7 now. So I'm just excited because I think the sky's the limit, and, you can continue to play your best ball. And that's kind of just my goal, is to keep leading, keep being better just overall, and try to be the best that I can for this team.
As one of the leaders of the squad, you're trying to build on what you did last year. What's it like being that guy and then having guys like Chauncey and Sheldon added to the mix? How does that dynamic work? Where you want to build, but you also want to take in what the experience they have?
Yeah, I think that's the thing about like life in general, not just the league, but in life. Even when I talk, I do a lot of things like talking to kids and stuff like that. When I talk to them, it's like you can learn from anybody. I could talk to a janitor and learn something from him the same way I could talk to the CEO. So you put that in the football setting. I've learned things from guys who maybe never played it down, but they've been in the league for 5 years, or somebody who is a rookie coming in who might just know something that I don't know. So I think it's just about being open-minded and realizing that nobody has it all figured out. So when you talk about a guy like Chauncey who, played, we got drafted, or we came in the same year into the league, 2019 class, and, as the years go on, those people in your class, it starts to fizzle out. And me and him had that conversation too. It's just like, remember the combine, everybody's there, it's this big like fraternity feeling. And then, you look up and it's year 7 and there's not too many guys left. So I think you can learn from everybody because everybody's experience in the league is so different. But if you're just willing to like be a sponge and absorb that, then you can get a lot better.
Considering how much Jalen Pitre means to this defense, what was it like to see him back out here with the guys on the field today?
Yeah, I didn't really notice him. I was like, no, Jalen, that's my guy, man. I love Jalen. Even when I first was in Tennessee and we played against the Texans, like we just, for some reason, just always clicked after the game talking. We talking for like 10 minutes just after the game. That was the first time I ever met him. So when I got here, he was one of the first people that, like kind of welcomed me and introduced me. And ever since then, like he's been my guy. So it's special. I mean, I'm just so proud of like the growth that he's had. And obviously, you get the contract and it just makes you feel like, yeah, like you earned that. And he did, I'd pay him even more money, man. Like, he's a big part of what we do. And it's good to have him out there.
You mentioned Bill. What do you see from him in his growing maturity as a leader, as a captain, and as someone that is one of the better defensive ends?
Yeah, I think that for Will, the biggest thing has just been like the way that he's leading. Because I think he, that Alabama, that just hard nose, he's just tough. And he has that like through and through. But then at the same time, I think as you get older, one thing that I challenged him, especially last year, was like knowing your audience, knowing who you're talking to. Because everybody doesn't respond to that. Because I know for me, especially as a young player, I did not respond well to anybody like being aggressive with me in that manner. So I think like just seeing how he is now, like he still brings the same energy, the same juice, but just like seeing like that extra, I guess, maturity almost to kind of read the room, read the situation, where it's not always have to be a big rah-rah thing. It could be very like soft-spoken, very quiet to talk to one guy about something that you might have saw on the field or something that's going on. And he's a great player, great leader. And it's just good to see him, like I said, in year 3, just, continuing to progress.
Azeez, coming off of
I'm sorry. I think just going through it. Like, when you go through one side of it, well, like I said, as a player, somebody's talking to you a certain way. Like, I grew up a certain way, and I didn't have my father in my life, so I genuinely struggled to, deal with male figures and taking, like, authority in that way. So I think as I figured that out on my own and, going to therapy and dealing with my own issues as a young player, especially like with me and D'Amico, that's our relationship was just always like headbutting until it got to that point where you realize like, why is this person talking to me like this? What are they trying to relay to me? And you kind of just able to process all those things and then come up with that solution to realize this person's trying to help me. Their message is just being relayed this certain way, not taking it so personal. And then as I figured that out for myself, and I became more of a leader in my own right, I just made sure that I carried that same message that I felt to the people around me because, like I said, everybody is different. And I have no clue sometimes, you go to work, a guy might have just lost, his child or maybe something happened at home because we all go through things. So I think it just challenged me to be more considerate and more mindful of other people because I was thinking about how I felt. So.
He's coming off the year that Henry had. How much can he build on that? And what have you seen from his mindset talking to him before you all came here into the OTAs?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Henry did from year 1 to year 2 was a huge jump. And I tell him all the time, I would tell him during the whole season, like, bro, you were light years ahead of where I was from year 1 to year 2 because, just seeing how fast he was playing and, just being kind of thrown in that position where he's playing Mike and Sam and then say, hey, man, we need you at will because Christian goes down and you starting all these games and you don't know if you're going to start this week or not. Like, I think he handled it, like, as good as you possibly could. And he, I think, outdid a lot of expectations that a lot of people probably had with him. And just now going into another offseason, another OTAs, another chance to build off of that, like, sky's the limit. Because even for me, like I said, my year 2 to year 3, that jump that I made, I remember it felt like every light clicked on. And I felt like he was already ahead of me with that in year 2. So I'm excited for him. I think the sky's the limit.
How vital were you and D'Amico to his jump and his growth?
Man, I don't like to take credit for nobody. That's God. But, I just try to do the best that I can to teach everybody, regardless of whether they're in my room or not, the things that I know, the wisdom that I have. And a lot of the wisdom that I have, I learned from other people. So, it's just me paying it forward like somebody did for me. Yes, ma'am.